fortunate to have Pastor Jim Drake of the Parking Baptist Church here in the
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this wonderful, beautiful day that you've given us. Father, the beauty of your creation around us just reminds us of what a good God you are to us. And Father, I thank you that you have allowed us to be able to gather and conduct the business of this town. Father, that you've given us the freedom to do that. Father, we know that that is provided by you, and we thank you so much for that. Father, I would ask that you would give the leaders of this town wisdom as they conduct the business. Father, give them insight. And Father, we ask that you would protect the law enforcement, the fire department. Father, that you would protect all the first responders as they protect us and keep us safe. Lord, as we see the children going to school this week, we ask that you would protect them. Father, that you would bless the teachers, that you would bless all the students this year. Father, give them a wonderful year. Father, we thank you for all the good gifts that you give us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentlemen, you have in front of you the agenda of any additions or deletions at this time. All in favor of accepting the agenda as presented, say aye. Consent agenda, August 8th, minutes, any additions or corrections? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Citizens' requests, committee reports, unfinished business and reports, new business and reports. Chris, I think you've got the next two items, please.
During the recent Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission voted to approve a request for a sign variance for Ashley Home Store located at 560 Commerce Drive, it's the old Staples building. According to the code section 74-1173, any sign located within the SC1 district may apply for a special sign permit. This was approved by the Planning Commission tonight. The Town Council will be voting whether y'all approve what's presented in the packets, signs for Ashley.
That's your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
I hear a motion to accept that as presented. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
And the next issue there, Planning Commission voted to approve the site plan. We're going to add on to the Ryan's building for the proposed fitness park. The addition is 1,582 square feet. Based upon the Planning Commission's recommendations, my recommendation to approve this addition.
Do I hear a motion to accept as presented? So moved. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thank you, Chris. Let's see what we got. Citizens' comments. Okay. Town manager's report.
Okay, first item I have on my list here is Ridge Road Route 720 speed study. There is a memo in the packet describing the costs associated with doing the speed study. It came back from Kimberly Horn and Associates for $30,475. Just to let you know, the reason why the speed study is done is in order to verify it's a safe speed in order for us to enforce it. If you raise the speed limit, one of the problems is can you legally enforce it? Is it a safe speed to travel? This quote came in a little high from what I can compare. Usually I would have, being honest with you, got a little sticker shock on my own. I figured it was about $8,000 to $10,000 per road. And when it came in at $30,000, if the council would like me to look farther and see if I can find one that has a better price, This was actually brought into the subcontractor, and I'm able to go directly instead of working directly with them because of the value. I could contract with them. A lot to spend. I guess I'm looking for guidance on which way we want to go with this. If we want to try to find a better price, we're probably looking, I figured you could go for 10,000 a road, but still a lot to raise the speed limit.
Mr. Watson, the consensus of my fellow council members has been that I think in part, it may be in my part, maybe in there on my part too, in looking at the speed on the Ridge Road. I had not taken into consideration coming off of Ridge Road, the east side. And I've had a visit, as well, I think of all my fellow council members, has had a visit from residents there. They are in opposition to increasing the speed limit there. So gentlemen, I'll open the floor up for your comments. Lee?
Yeah, I got the same couple of phone calls and text messages, and it make sense. There's no way 35 all the way into town there. Once you come off Ridge Road and into there, it'd be dangerous. Plus, there's kids that walk and ride bikes on Ridge Road, so I don't think going to 35 on that one would be even feasible to do. Just leave it at 25. Now at 720, I would like to see that because I myself come through there, and 25 just catches you off guard. I know once you get into town limits, 25 is good from there down from Joy. But all out through there, I'd like to see it go to 35 if it's feasible. I mean, we're going $10,000, $15,000. No.
Okay. Preston?
I'm with Lee on that. I just want to know why they changed it from 45 to 35. It used to be 45 on 720. Was that something the state did?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure.
I used to be
It's
45.
35 now.
It's 35 now, but it used to be 45.
We can try to track the information down. I don't know why, but we didn't drop it. Okay, I don't know if when we brought it into town, 35 mile per hour road, just like the signs on 460, we did not adjust those either.
Well, how do you have to pay so much money to do that?
Well, in order to increase and follow VDOT regulations, okay, VDOT requires that you have a speed study done. I contacted them, asked if they would be willing to do it, and they're not willing to recommend raising the speed from the sign stamp all out. In order, and most speed limits, when you're lower than one, it's a lot easier. You can do a traffic count and speed study and determine what the 85 percentile of travel and speed. And you can set the speed in 85 percentile if you want to lower the speed. And in order to increase the speed, then you get into questions of somebody speeding or somebody that gets hurt. Those type of things you really need to take into effect of why you raise the speed. I drive 720, I think 35 is probably a little slow, but cost, benefit, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you're $10,000, $12,000 to raise the speed limit, if that's something we want to look at. And that's if I can find a good deal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be with the rest of the council. I mean, I'm going to leave Ridge Road alone. They brought up some good points when they expressed their concerns to us, things that you really wouldn't think about unless you live there. So I'm with them. But I would like to see maybe if you could find a little cheaper, somebody that can do that a little cheaper on the 720 side.
Jim?
Yes, I agree with the Ridge Road. I talked to Tom at breakfast, and we discussed it there, and I agree with him. And I would like to see 720 increase, but at what price?
Okay. Mr. Danko?
I talked to Tom today. How did this come up? How did this come about? Why is it on the agenda? And
We talked about it a while back, and we probably back like May or April.
who brought it up? Who wants to do, on council wants to do this?
Well, I think a couple of us thought it was necessary to increase the speed limit, but we didn't know, I mean, we're new to the board, so we didn't know it would cost money to do it. we thought it was something you could do, but it's good to get everybody's insight. I think 720 definitely should have something done to it. But,
Rick's Road on it, against the rate.
yeah,
Let him go into this.
Just another point on, who brought that up, about increasing the speed limit. I know that I received several complaints from people who got a speeding ticket going down Ridge Road. Okay? So, do you ever get complaints from residents about speeding around?
Not necessarily a ticket, but I did have a few. And I was the one that brought up 720, Mr. Danko, the day, I did have a few people say, look, if you get elected to council, this is back before I was elected, can you look at maybe raising the speed limit in that area? I mean, I agree with it. I still think 720 is a little slow, but that was me.
We're talking about Ridge Road.
Oh, Ridge Road, 720.
Okay, Ridge Road was, and I know that I had several complaints from residents who had received speeding tickets. And I just thought it was probably a little bit slow, 25, but I didn't consider, like I said earlier, coming off of the south or the east end of Ridge Road in that neighborhood there, because there's been several accidents with cars coming around there too fast. So Mike, would you look into getting a price for the short?
Absolutely. Next time I got on.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Get a safety study, won't cost anything.
I contacted VDOT,
Wouldn't do it.
not in, sign off with a recommendation. Now, they originally had talked to me about doing the traffic, getting the data for us, but, they didn't know when they needed to get to the board to collect the data. One of the issues also is if VDOT collects the data, then you still have an engineer sign off the stand, a traffic engineer to determine whether or not it's safe. And that's what you're paying money for. You're paying, I don't call it insurance, you're paying for an engineer to tell you and stand with his stamp saying that this is safe. And I don't think any of us really want to enter into raising the speed limit without having a recommendation from someone.
You can perhaps report back to us next time. You want to go ahead?
Next time we got this fire truck equipment discussion. I just want to bring up a few things. We have been communicating with the fire department. As you know, the Bluefield, Virginia Rescue Squad went to a county agency. And they're still in the process of switching everything over. And at the time, they had a crash truck that they were able to run when needed. They did offer, we did look to buy it at one time. The original offer was $8,000. Then some negotiations were done, and Tazewell County ended up buying. The truck was moved to Tazewell area instead of in the side area. Right now, we respond to trucks by using a small pumper to do car accidents, and what's it doing is it's causing crinkle that you can't take everything. So, the fire department I've been talking, working with them, and we've been looking at different types of equipment to use for vehicles. If we have a car accident, you might not always need it, but you can always. You're going to need cribbing, you're going to need hydraulics, you're going to need all these type of things in order to respond to a wreck in manner to ship. Okay? We keep a lot of equipment on different trucks. It's just this would be a tool to use when you have an accident and make sure we got everything. It's not, hey, we need something else, we need something else. So, they did buy one. The asking price of it was $45,000. We haven't negotiated it. Before we even look at purchasing, we'll send a mechanic, we'll send our fire department, everybody to go look at. This is not a listed price. This is rescue squad, fire and rescue group in Ripley. That's not on the market. This is a truck that they're currently using, and they're in the process of well, I think they're actually going to eventually take this offline. We have the specifications on here. On top of this, there's about $15,000 worth of stuff. And I really didn't know until you get into the business, it's like fire or police. You put that on there, it doubles or triples the price. Okay, so, and there's good reason to it. There's, you have things that are not going to cause fires, things that are more safe. You take a public works saw out, you usually cut something, it's a little different than using the rescue squad. The equipment's made for a whole different purpose. Public works is used for drilling rough. Fire department, police department equipment is used for safety, for everything. Sparks, fumes, and everything more safe. What I would like to do is investigate this father. Just to let you know, we use an LGIP to save money. We try to every year unless something big comes up. There, we do have an LGIP with, which I don't have a number in front of me, but that's what we purchase this thing. So, prior to us going forward, we're going to schedule time, which we will want to see it, have a can checked out, have a fire department look through it, hands on, make sure everybody's on the same page with it, and then try to get the price in, and then come back for approval through the council and work with the person. I just didn't want to go and look and buy something without council over or head.
Council, you're all in agreement with them doing that?
Sure. Need it.
And the next other item is, I just want to kind of prime it up a little bit. In 2 years, in 2019, we paid off the articulating bucket truck apparatus. And so just to let you know, we will be starting to look at replacing a piece of equipment. Just to let you know, the vehicle that we're looking at and replacing is like 1984 model. Okay? It's hard to believe if you look at the fire station down there, that equipment's at all. But
Really?
it's amazing. The panel truck that we use now, which is just like a large Suburban, it's actually had the body taken off and replaced and then repainted. So I mean, these guys take care of it. They really, every time it goes out, they wash it, they clean it, they have pride in it. It's just amazing. But some of the equipment is older. I just give you an example. I told the fire department I had one rule: we don't park anything outside. So other than that, within the next 2 years, we'll be looking at that. The articulating truck was paid off. We'll be at the 10-year line. We'll shorten the line, and hopefully it won't be anywhere close to it. You're looking between probably $550,000 and $600,000.
As a rule, too, Mike, a comment, normally our department design,
Yes.
they design what they want.
It takes, and they're already looking at different options and things of what it is and what will be best for our area. It takes 6-8 months to work with a company to design what you think you will need, and then they have to build a special area. So it's not like going to a car lot ordinance, so it's pretty tough. But I just want to let you know that's something we're looking at in January, February of 2019. Okay, any more questions on that?
I just have one, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The fire department, they know about, I mean, they're in agreement with this truck that we see here.
Yes.
Okay, that was just a little question.
Yeah, I spoke with them, and they're all on board. Okay. I had a couple of other ones, things I sent out to you emails, but I'll go through these event that we have now. Joint meeting with the city of Bluefield, West Virginia on September the 5th at 6 p.m. I've got responses from some. Can I get a pen?
I'm sorry, I didn't put on.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to change location. Big Castle Country Club does not serve dinner on Monday and Tuesday. So So if it's all right with council, we'll reserve the upstairs along the aspect. They have a meeting room upstairs we can meet. It'll be a nice place. So we'll reserve that tomorrow, but yes, we found out that, and they were willing to work with, just to let you know, they were willing to offer it up, but the charges and fees that go along with it, just to have staff come in for that one evening to do it, it's really not easy. It's really just increasing the cost. Next item I have is American Red Cross Blood Drive, Tuesday, August the 20th, 1 to 6 here in council chambers. If you haven't registered, we'll still let you run for the Two Virginia's 5K. It's this Saturday. It starts at 9 a.m. If you want to leave your car in Bluefield, Virginia, the farmer's market 8:30 will give you a ride up there, and then you can drive back to where you need to go afterwards. They do have a ceremony. The DDC will be giving out water and be at the finish line for that stuff. We'll have a little presentation there. Nice little event. It's kind of comical. Especially when you watch me, okay, so.
Can we ride?
You might have to, okay, and when you ride by, pick me up, okay? But it's a good event, we all had a lot of fun last year doing it.
Excuse me just a second, Mike. Billy, would you like to comment, because you were at their meeting last Wednesday? Tell them about where the drinks and all that will be, okay? Yeah, if you don't mind. Excuse me, Mike. Sure.
So the run starts up at the clock, the old clock in Bluefield, West Virginia. It's a really easy run, actually, if you're thinking about doing it. It's pretty much all downhill. And you can walk it, we run and walk it. And then you go all the way down, and it's exactly a 5K at the gazebo. From the clock to the gazebo is the actual finish line. Charles and the city of Bluefield, West Virginia do a good job. They bring a whole team in that actually clock everybody with real time that come through. It's set up really nice. This year we're going to go across the street, have the stage set up where we usually do for Field Fest in that one area by the Veterans Memorial. The city of Bluefield, West Virginia are bringing their inflatables, so we'll have those over at Jackass Berry Square. We'll have some music and J104 down there while we're waiting for everybody to come while the DDC is offering cold water and refreshments. Hopefully everybody will stick around until the presentations are given for the awards. And there's an award that's given to the city or the town, the winners, based on participation and how well we do in the race. The city of Bluefield won last year, but we got it this year.
She says that in a laughing tone, okay? We're there for the camaraderie, okay? That's what we come for.
The DDC, Downtown Development Corporation, in town of Bluefield, Virginia, will be providing the refreshments. I'll be at the finish line directly. You're going to have the trailer over there or the tent? I thought you said something about it.
We're going to set up tents for the DDC and tables set up to give out the refreshments, and then the stage will be set up with a PA system so that the awards and stuff can be set. So it'll all be like all right together in that city, like Field Fest kind of was.
Yeah.
in one area.
Any questions? Thank you, Billy.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay, also we had several other events here. Just to let you know, town offices will be closed September 4th for Monday for Labor Day. Monday's trash will be picked up the Friday before. Usually we work with anybody anyway, so if there's an issue, just usually let them know. On January is the second Saturday, September the 9th. We do it downtown. There's a lot of events. We got a flyer here that was passed out earlier. That is a pretty good little event that we have. It's a great way for the community to get together. It's a hometown event. On September 27th, starting at 9 o'clock, we're going to have the tour park. If anybody would like to participate or be part of it, see these young leaders, I'm going to say, come out and learn about the park and other different things around our community. Please let us know. We're sure to. We are making reservations. I believe that we've got all the council signed up to go to the VNL conference this year. We're still making sure we get all the reservations stuff in. Just to let you know, I did send an email, I've done it on a police car. We've done a few of them over time, here and there, we donated one to Bluefield College. You know, the problem that we get into the older type police cars, they're not selling like it used to. It used to be putting them in an auction, you get $2,500, $3,000 out of them. I think we're getting somewhere between $800 and $1,500 out of them, if they're okay, because everybody's going away from Crown Vics. Used to be a guy in Covington at Baldwin, he bought them for taxi cabs. They used to use them for cab service and stuff like that. Last time we couldn't, well, the last 2 times we haven't been able to get them up here. Well, what's happening is people are buying them and then they're riding them. So the police cars, you're looking, you have individuals that drive vehicles that have a light on the side, or they don't paint them and they look rough. So I think it's a bad representation for all of us. We have a couple that we use in town. I'm not a huge fan of having our employees that used to have the water meters, and those people use them, but they still, it kind of puts a bad thing on makes people think they're police officers or they're coming down, which they're really not.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. As a police officer, I'm telling you, it's a dangerous situation when you have employees that are, and you see it in not just this jurisdiction, but other jurisdictions, when they're driving these cars and they're wearing like the BDU, utility type pants. You're putting these people in danger, so I agree 100%. It's not something that we want to do. And no matter how hard you try, you cannot get that striping to completely go away. So what you have is some ghosted out version of a Bluefield PD. We've had the sheriff's office.
I think there's one right around the.
Yeah, it does look bad, and I don't like it. So I agree. As a police officer, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think that, and we did call around to see if we'd contact local ones if they'd do it also. I mean, if a local company like, but some of the communities get grants for them. So, and or they have a small apartment on here, their vehicles was rough. We actually had a dent in the door of it, and because we had 2 that matched the same, one had a dent, and we took the door off of the lesser vehicle, put it on the better vehicle for riding it. So as we rotate those out, I'm going to go ahead and contact them and let them know.
Gentlemen, are we all in agreement tonight?
Okay,
Tim Bradshaw, West Virginia.
yes.
You approve.
It'll actually do them all good. Okay. Next item I have, I was contacted about, I sent an email out, I passed out the news article out of Roanoke Times. It was Little Moorfield who was looking to place a bill in the General Assembly for, and I found out all the information back today, that's the reason why I haven't been back before. Just wanted to give you an update on it. It did pass, he is wanting to put a bill in to relieve, to cut out income and personal property in 7 counties that are distressed. Taylor County has passed one, they have not passed a resolution. They passed a resolution in support, however, they have not written a resolution because they don't know what they're getting. Okay. Also, the bill can't be placed into General Assembly until it be spent in January, it won't be engrossed until January. And also, it's an election year, so it might be better to wait until this comes through in order for us to pass a resolution. I think that is something we do, we'll have plenty of times. Just to let you know, usually when there's a bill or there's something that's going through the General Assembly, we try to keep up with it, and we'll send it to the delegates in each committee prior to it being filed, because the General Assembly will accept the bill, it'll be sent to one of the committees, or it might go to 4 different committees. And as it goes through the committees, it will change. So generally what we do is I try to keep council informed on bills that go through. We get letters of support from the town or the community, whichever one we need, in order to send into it. B&L also contacts us and says whether or not they feel like this is a good thing, and they'll do these quick contacts. We'll just send out an email to all the legislators that's in that community to try to get something passed. So as this bill gets written. Once it gets written, I'll send it to council. Also, as it gets put in the general assembly in January, we'll go off. If, it's just, it's hard to support something you can't see from you first. Hopefully, yes, it proceeds on. Any questions?
Can't come down for individuals, is that they remove
Business,
that?
they want to be corporate and individuals.
Individual.
They want to do business and personal.
How's that affect our income from the state?
The article says it's not, exactly number 1 or 3% of total income for the state.
It doesn't.
I think it's less, you look at it, it's less than 1%. And it's definitely something, I mean, like you said, you definitely want to have the language in the bill before you do a resolution. But from what I've heard, I can't see how it would have a negative effect on this area at all. It would definitely be something that would benefit us and greatly. But, you know, I've talked with the mayor and I feel it's going to be a hard road to with Northern Virginia and some of these other jurisdictions, because they're paying, they're going to be paying the taxes and we're not. So it's definitely going to be something that's tough. But in terms of Southwest Virginia, I mean, it's going to be something that will be really good for our people. It's going to be a tough piece of legislation to pass.
How are they going to market that program? This is what you were talking about.
Just to give you an idea, it is a governor's election too. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses in the next 3 months.
Obvious selection.
And so, I mean, if it's going to go through, there's an opportunity based on these things.
I'll say this, it's as bad as our area has suffered for the last 20 years, especially with the downturn of COVID. And stuff like this that's going to, thinking outside the box, that's the only thing that's going to bring us up out of this economic bump we're in. So that's one thing. I mean, I've agreed with Will on a lot of things I've disagreed with him on, but this is definitely something. I mean, at least we have somebody that's thinking outside the box, trying to do something, rather than just sit there.
I did hear Friday at the legislative committee meeting, I did hear some talk about this. Some of the people there and they said, we haven't seen anything yet in writing, but they were aware of this thing coming forward. Okay, well, see now, are you through?
I believe that's the only other item I have written on my sheet here.
Okay, council comments, Mr. Danko.
Can you bring us up to date on that, Wood?
We have had conversations with the group during the process, working to design roads. They have, they're negotiating the cost for the actual permit VDOT has made an offer, level with the counter offer. Neither one of them close on what the offer is. They're all about $100,000 each of their opinion. I am planning to make a few phone calls to see if I can assist in the process in any way. But as of right now, they're still at the same point they were. They're designing the roads, they're looking at the cost. VDOT, you break limited access, you go through a lot of engineering boards to get it approved. Then you have to engineering to design the roads. Once you design the roads, and VDOT approves them because it's on the VDOT right-of-way once you're to build it. Okay? In order to use VDOT right-of-way, VDOT requires for legislation that says that you have to compensate them for the property's increase in value based on the exchange, the intersection they put in. So you appraise the value of the property right now. You look at the entire development if it's been built out 100%, and you take the difference between the future appraisal down the road and the current appraisal down, and that's what you pay VDOT to do right. So those two things is what it is, okay? And then they're negotiating. One of the things is VDOT's property, and they're not required for freedom of information on their appraisals and anything like that. So you're kind of going on a trust on what the value of the property is, based on the value that VDOT set for that property. So staff is trying to work with them to see how those numbers were gathered, but we're having. But I mean, everybody's been positive about it. VDOT worked very good with the guys. All the guys at VDOT doing great. Just right away, they're used to doing this type of thing. And they negotiate prices with everybody for everyone. And it's a negotiation instead of working to come to a contract. So we're working on it. We're communicating with them on a pretty regular basis and see what we go from there. But as of right now, the design has not been approved that I know of. I know that they've been working on the probably third place, but the value which they have to reimburse is still $300,000 plus.
You mean Doug got to replace $300,000?
They will have to write a check before they'll be able to use the property. They're not buying the property, they're using the road. They have to pay that in order to have the right to use the right of way. It's like, I look at it different. I look at it, if you build a house, I charge you $10 for me to come out and look and make sure the driveway looks right, okay? They're charging $300,000 in order to do that same thing. Okay? That's a permitting fee. You don't mean that. But it's their right of way, so they can sell it for, I guess, whatever.
So it looks like the answer, economic development.
What's that?
They're looking to go hard on economic development.
I think that.
See, I'm going to
Okay, so,
that's it.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I got a few things. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a little long-winded. The Clips party at the visitor center, and I went by there, that was great. And I'm not a real fan of, or I wasn't, of the visitor center, but events like that really kind of bring me around to them up to it. I mean, that was really, really nice. They're doing some good things with the visitor center, so they did good. I know that we had people he was working with at the town, so good job. And I know, I want to thank Mike. The sheriff's office called and requested that the council chambers for an event for our DARE program. And he was really quick to work with our staff to make that happen. And I know Mike's big on opening up our facilities for the public, so I wanted to say thank you, Mike, for working with our staff to make that happen. And I know I brought up at the last council session that I would like potentially to see some of our employees here at the town have the opportunity to go and further their education with this program that Virginia Tech offers. Is that something that you looked at?
I did. It's about $6,500
per employee.
Per employee. It's about a 6-month class. There's some requirements to it. You don't have to have 4-year grade.
Is it not a 4-year?
But you don't have to have it to be in it, but you can. They prefer a 4-year degree. It's not a degree program, it's a certificate. They said something about some grants on it, but I haven't been able to see if some staff want to do it, those type of things yet. But based on the cost, the program itself is to, I guess, to educate you on local government. It's kind of what it is. It's like I said, a certificate program. Virginia Tech does it. They also, Virginia Tech offers some seminar type classes also through this program. I think the local government, I was a member of, I think I still am, the Local Government Managers Association partners with Virginia Tech to try to educate people in local government, because there's a lot of different things in it. But, if that's the direction the council wants to go, I can start finding out if we have people that are willing to take their time and extra. Usually what I do is if it's beneficial then the town would usually pay for some education based on budget. I budget $5,000 right now is what I budget for educational expenses. If they're willing, I make them sign or agree to stay a certain amount of time. Sure. It's just like the police department when we send them to the academy. I can do some more research, and that's something we want to look at. I can see if we have qualified people.
Right.
A lot of times, it's going to have to be, in order for them to really benefit, it needs a management type staff in order to.
Right, and I agree, but I would just encourage council, if you haven't looked at that program and then the classes that they would be sent to, just take a look at it, it's online. I just think it would be something that would be beneficial to our employees. I mean, it's making them better. If they're better, we're better as a town. And, obviously, they're not getting paid the best we're all getting, those of us that work in local government. And this is just something we could do, to incentivize them to stay with us, to better themselves. And then the last thing I wanted to say, Mike's exactly right. I've had the opportunity to work with, as a police officer, most of our fire departments in Tazewell County. I'm telling you, you can't brag on these guys enough. The fire department we have here in Bluefield, Virginia is second to none. I mean, there's no comparison, in my opinion, in the region. These guys are fantastic. So that's all I have.
All right, same thing with Raw talking about the Eclipse party. I had 2 West Virginia residents that I work for said they loved seeing the light down in Bluefield, Virginia during the eclipse, so that was good. For football stuff, I know Ron Martin's getting a lot of flack on the charge that they're charging. Now, in Bluefield, Virginia, a lot of people ask me if they can park up there in their grass and if they're going to get charged. Is that something that we are in control of, or is that Bluefield West?
Just to give you some history in the past, the entire park from where all the parking is, the grass, bowling field, all that is owned by the city of West Virginia. About 3 managers back, when they started tailgating, we approached the manager at that time and said, hey, we would like to take the grass area, we'd like to put a tent up, we would police it, we'd monitor, we'd clean up, we'd mow, we'd do anything you want us to do if you'd let us use that. And we were told it's not something they want to do at that time. Okay. The tailgating that they're doing now is, it's theirs. They approve tailgating. Now in Virginia, I think that there's different rules, different laws on the alcohol. I think that they're supposed to be non-alcohol too, but I think that they have some issues in time. As far as property down there, we don't have a right to do it, even though it's in Virginia, we police it.
All right, do you have any paving updates?
Found out today that hoping by the mid to the end of September, they'll start paving.
Let's got 1 or 2 more things. Thanks for fixing the drain on my street. Appreciate that.
The pipe was collapsed.
I told you, it was getting bad.
The pipe was collapsed, we went over there. We had to wait a few days on Mitch Utilities, but other than that, they supposed to have ran it across there. I'm guessing the gravel in it, they haven't patched it yet. Have they patched it?
No, it's still there, but
They gravel across
you
the
should see with the rainstorm, there's a river down there too, so that's probably a big problem. And I still like to throw a budget session sometimes, have some questions to ask. If we can do that in the next month or something like that, if that's possible. And next Tuesday, I'll just let the people here know, next Tuesday, Mike and I are going to get together at 4 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have chief and investigators. Some of the people who live in Sedgwood, Doe Meadows, Wynwood want to get together and talk about this, these robberies and this little theft we had going on. They have a couple ideas some of the citizens want to talk about, so I'm just letting everybody know that. Yeah.
Okay, they stole the thunder on the Eclipse party, but I enjoyed it being down there. 93%, but still, got a little shady. That was good. The Hockman Pike Bridge, noticed that today. It looks really good.
We're still going to do some paint on it. We're going to put a shiny gloss on the shiny thing, do some work on it, but prior to all this, just make it look nicer.
Oh, it is. And a lot of people use it, and then seen on Facebook yesterday, the big black bear over there now. Yeah, there's the one that's been everywhere has finally made it over to, it was on that road the other evening. I guess somebody took a picture of it. So you get the phone calls on that, and I'm like, there's nothing we can do.
what, Ian, who is it?
Part of the game and official.
They won't come out anymore either.
They won't, that's what I tell them, like, we just
give it a bit.
yeah, quit feeding. Mr. Jones says, quit feeding, I guess. Something, I know we looked at it before, but I guess we need to maybe come back to it about the renters and maybe some like tighter ordinance on rental property, because there's some areas out there that's out of hand. I mean, it's just, they just let it go and, you know, they turn a blind eye, we might turn just a little bit. We need to put our thumbs down. You know, our citizens who own houses take care of it. If they don't, we're all, we need to look a little bit tighter on our rental properties, because some of them are just, it's gotten out of hand. Not bad, but I'd like to look at that and bring that back up. What else was it? Payment update, you got that. The pickup, is there a pick update on how we're doing on that? With the new people who impact our community?
Oh, okay. The pickle. No, pickle. We'll put together something. And just to let you know, along the item we was talking about before, rental property, I actually had that conversation just today or yesterday with our town attorney about it. We, several years ago, worked, we had drafted up a policy and sent it to the planning commission. That's something that we worked on before. We have some new ideas as far as way that may be able to enforce health and safety and long-term needs. It's going to be an expense, but I think a long-term good expense. I have been in favor for a long time of having a rental policy, but I don't want to push the cost over on the good owners. Sure, okay. But we have people that have rental property that do an excellent job. You wouldn't know it was rental property until you pull the tax ticket up and realize that it's rental property. That's how good they do. And I can feel. And then you've got a few that don't. Okay, sure. One of the things that, just an idea that we're kicking around, just to give you an update for later discussion, is possibly when you have your water turned on, right then you turn whether you're a renter or not. The renter is responsible for the water, they have to pay a deposit. Maybe there's some type of checklist that we can go through to require painting, no peeling paint. The grass has to be cut and maintained, let you get one good time, okay? The eaves don't have holes in them, so animals, you have to secure it for health safety and require that prior to turning the water on. And then maybe have another list of things that you need to work on to let them know that these are issues that they have with their home. And then you can do that. I don't want to have to really make the list so much that it is a burden to the ones that need it. You know, normally on rental property, a lot of times we try to make the property right there, make sure it's not turned on in the house. So it's usually not too much of an inconvenience, but if you have a checklist, they go out and say, yes. The person does initials it and says, we're done. Okay. And that might be a way to do it. And it wouldn't be on a fee basis. I wouldn't want to start out now charging somebody $50 every time we turn their water on just because it's a rental property. Right. But there are some areas in town we have renters that they have a busted window in their house. That's another, okay? And there might be, it actually gets you, the renters, people on the property realize, hey, we're looking at this. Okay? But right now, just to let you know, we try to enforce all the code we have, but it's limited. Sure, and if you don't know if lights, doesn't have light fixtures, it's got wires in it. You don't know if there's paint peeling on the inside of the home. You don't know if a lot of stuff's going on until somebody complains. Sure. And that's when we're real active about it. But until we get those, it's really kind of hard to do that without being keep picking on something.
Exactly. I appreciate you stepping up.
But we will, we've been busy here, so we
I understand, sure. Only last thing is, Pastor Drake back there, Jim, I just want to thank you for all that you do for the community. I know all of our other pastors out there do the same too and everything, but I follow him on Twitter, I follow him on Facebook and everything, so I'm just giving him, with him here tonight, I just want to say thank you for all that you do. And I know Leslie one time we mentioned kind of putting a
pastors thing together to kind of be over, like, be over all the pastors maybe of the area to kind of help us?
Good luck with that.
Well, I know, exactly, I know, because again, you start, well, no, I'm this one and I'm that one, but somewhere down the road, I mean, somebody like you that's always involved and I mean, people see you out all the time and it's great. And I know Pastor Steve, my pastor, probably bust me on this, but I mean, he does the same, but I would like to see a local pastor help us get pastors in here to be more involved, and somewhere down the road, maybe, just something you can put along with everything else that you do, maybe. Hint. But I appreciate everything you do, sir.
I have just a couple of comments. First, I'd like to follow up on what Mike said about the grass area that Mr. Preston asked about. About 3 years ago, or city managers ago, council had a request from several of our residents to have a park area up there as a non-alcoholic tailgating area. Okay? And we met with the officials in, like Mike said, in Bluefield, and they weren't receptive at all to it. So, but we had offered police protection and public works employees to take care of it. It was not acceptable at that time. Also, this past Friday, I attended the female legislative committee, and I just want to tell you one thing that's going to probably be coming up in the future. The committee came up with a recommendation to adopt medical marijuana use in Commonwealth, Virginia. Now, the position of BML is that at this point in time, we will prioritize about 5 or 6 items that we will present to the General Assembly at our annual conference, and it will be up to the memberships to vote if those are acceptable, and if they are acceptable, then the lobbyists from 3ML will be working with the legislators in Richmond to kind of get those items passed. So look for that to be coming. One other scuttlebutt I heard while I was there is that apparently this past summer out in Las Vegas, they had a convention of hackers, computer hackers. And what they did was, these hackers tried to break into the voting machines. In 20 minutes, they broke into most of them and made some of the voting machines plain music. So, State Board of Elections, the scuttlebutt that I got, is looking at decertifying some manufacturers, of course, and others. So it might be that, and those that their voting machines that are not acceptable are going to be out. So it might be a little problem this November for the election. So this will all happen at the BMO conference in Williamsburg. So I want to make sure you all are there to vote on that. Okay, I think our attorney.
Good evening, gentlemen. Just have a few things this evening. The first that you'll see on the agenda is it's really a discussion regarding a revision and a creation of some new ordinances for the business license tax ordinance. And I know I've only been in Bluefield a short time, but I think this would be somewhat of a new approach to how to deal with business license tax delinquencies. Okay. As of yesterday, what I was informed by our treasurer is that there's approximately $13,000 in delinquencies for business license tax. I guess what the role I play in this, why I'm involved in this, is I assist in the collection, on behalf of the town with the treasurer of the tax delinquencies. I would say at least 15 letters I sent out to businesses around here in Bluefield, Virginia, were associated with business license tax delinquencies. Other jurisdictions do this, and really I'll just kind of sum it up in a nutshell. What this does is this imposes a misdemeanor penalty, for those who fail to file the appropriate return or file the appropriate documents or obtain a valid license to operate in the town of Bluefield. So to date, the way this is typically handled, I know this is how it's handled in other jurisdictions surrounding us, is the treasurer has the power to do what's called a distress, meaning what they can do is they can take basically money from the till, as long as they follow appropriate legal proceedings, they can take money from the till of the particular business, they can seize assets, they can even seize the furniture of the particular business if they chose to do it. It's a civil proceeding, it's outside of the criminal context. Additionally, a way that some localities approach us is they just file a warrant in debt. The attorney will go and they'll sue in court for the estimated amount of what the delinquent business license tax is, and that's usually how it's pursued, and then it'll be filed as a lien, or they go through the collections process to do a garnishment or sell their real estate, and that's how they would collect if they chose to collect that way. This, I think, and this is something the town manager and the treasurer and myself had talked about, this, I think, adds an additional incentive for folks to pay their taxes. So, as it relates to this, dependent on the amount of delinquency, it could be punishable up to 12 months in jail if a court had chose to do something like that. If it's a small amount of delinquency, it could be only a fine, in an order from the court to pay the delinquent taxes. So really, I bring this to you in two parts. The first part of the ordinance, you'll see it's where I have that section 50-109. That's the failure to file the tax return itself. That's the new section that would be created as part of the business license tax ordinance. The second one that you see here is basically an amendment to 50-96. And what you see in red is the proposed amendments that I had presented to the treasurer and the town manager that I now bring to you all to discuss. So really, I suppose the way I would present this to you all is that when someone is delinquent in their business licenses, it means they haven't paid for that particular year and they're not getting a new license. So basically, they're operating a business in the town without a license, is what it is. So I guess I'd have you all take that to the table and talk about it if you'd like to today to see what you think about it. It would be new for the town. The town in the past, as I understand, has not approached this as a criminal penalty. This has always been a civil matter, and I think we have the power to pursue it as a criminal matter. I definitely think it would provide more of an incentive for individuals if a police officer comes knocking on their door ready to serve a summons for them to pay their taxes if they haven't done so. So I guess I'll open the floor. I'll have you all open the floor to that discussion.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Everybody should pay their fair share. Any other comments?
Over $13,000. That's a pretty good substantial amount, I believe. I would think.
It's a class 2 misdemeanor, just adding that criminal penalty to it, that's all there.
For that, under that particular section, it would be. So basically, operating in the town without a license to do business is a class 2 misdemeanor.
What's the fine? It's 6 months in jail or what?
It's $1,000 up to $1,000 and up to 6 months. The other one, failing to file a return, is also, it's a misdemeanor, which would be a class 1. I think if it's over 1,000, and if it's 1,000 or less, it's a class 3 misdemeanor. So I will tell you all this, and I'll put this out there. Usually when I send my letter out, we get 98% compliance, okay? But there's always a few outliers that tend not to pay, and I think this would be an additional incentive to encourage that.
So are these people, I'm sorry, Nick. Are these people that don't pay, are they returns that keep it yearly not paying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, just sum it up.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what happens is a person comes in, files for they're supposed to come in and get a business license. And every year by code, you're required to apply apply for a new business license, okay? They don't, in order, when they file their business license, at the end of the year, they're supposed to tell you how much in gross receipts you have in order to pay whether you're real estate, whether it's retail, depending on what business. Okay? A lot of the lists that you see here are just average individuals that's slid by, or we even had one that, you know, that it's mostly a forgetful thing. Okay? 99, like Matt said, 99% unpaid. You have one or two that really push the button, okay? And those are the ones that you're going to see, if this is passed, it will go to some treasurers. Now, the treasurer can go in and lock the doors. But it's very difficult to lock a door on a town business that's been operating for 20 years and lock doors and shut them on that, okay? So we write the letters, we go and put the liens, those type of things. And if they ever close the property or sell the property or do something with the property, we'll collect everything. What this will do is it'll actually get in the front of a judge with a misdemeanor and say, okay, you know what? If you don't pay, class 1 misdemeanor, and they're going to file the paperwork, and they're going to, chances, I can't speak for a judge, but chances are, if you didn't file your papers, and you charge the class 1 misdemeanor and say you live all the way to court, you're going to go to court and say, got my papers here in front of me, here they are. He's going to reduce it to probably little to nothing.
And that's exactly, Mike is exactly right. In other jurisdictions I've worked in when I was a prosecutor, if a matter like this was brought up, it's typically dismissed if there's compliance, is how it works. So that's not, obviously that's not the reason, you know, for you all to pass it. But the idea
That's
is,
the ultimate goal of it anyway, is compliance.
yes, to get people continuously paying their taxes, because like I said before, there's a few folks in town that this is a continuous problem.
This is a legal way of doing it.
Yes, this is one of the ways.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways of doing it.
This is not real estate personal property, I want you to understand that you're not, you can't do that for those taxes. It's only, you can only do it for business taxes.
And Mills tax,
And
Mills tax has a separate criminal tax.
Yeah, so we can do those for the title taxes in order to operate a business, but personal property real estate is not included, cannot be included in this ordinance.
You will proceed with
What I can do is at the next meeting, I'll prepare it for the first reading.
We'll go ahead with the rest of these.
Mr. Jones.
I must be a sucker because every day I make things from our call from the IRS, you know, that scam says if you don't call us back, we're going to fine you and all that kind of stuff. Could we, if somebody, staff or somebody do something, protect their senior citizens or, you know, come to the IRS, cannot do that?
I suppose if this is an issue that's been going on in the town, we can probably put something in the newsletter or have the police department present something. You know, there's been several press releases and things associated with that nature to basically bring it to the public's attention that the IRS does not call and harass people for payment and threaten criminal sanction. We could address that in a newsletter by the police department.
Realize.
We can send it out, but, you know, the problem with it is, and if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but they use remote dialing, they have, they're state-of-the-art at this, and then they get a person, it's not just here, it's everywhere, and they convince that person through scare tactics or whatever, and try to get pertinent information from them. And it's just, it's one of those things that's almost impossible, and the federal government spends millions of dollars to fix it. But what we do in the next newsletter, we can put that into our newsletter. If you think it should be scanned, contact them.
If you're going to do that, just from a law enforcement perspective, you probably, if you're going to put a newsletter out there that's free anywhere, that kind of correlates with taxes, because that's when you're really going to see an influx of those type of problems.
Good idea.
The next one I have, and I kind of want to jump a little bit out of order before I do that first reading for the noise ordinance. If we could, is the property acquisition for the Carlisle property that's right there at the bottom of the attorney report. As you all can see, there's a deed that's been executed by the current owners, Thelma May Carball, Ronald Barry Carball, and Elizabeth Carball, that's presented to you all with regards to what I'll describe as parcel 4 as shown on that map that's attached with it. The acquisition of this property is associated with the High Street project, as you all saw from the memo that was sent to you. So really what the town needs at this point to accept the deed and move forward with the acquisition of the property is a motion, and I can do this in 3 parts if the council permits, or all in one motion if you all wanted to do that. In one motion, in one. So basically what council needs to do is to do a motion and a vote in the affirmative to authorize the expenditure of $15,000 for the purchase of that Carball property. It also needs to include in that motion a term to accept the deed and the property real estate interest described in that deed, and authorize the mayor to sign the deed on behalf of the town. Are the 3 prongs of that motion.
I'll have to call for a roll call vote because of the 15,000.
Yes, sir.
So, John, you heard the recommendation of our attorney. Do I hear a motion that we accept all 3 items into one? Have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
The last thing that I have for you all this evening is the noise ordinance. This is the first reading of the noise ordinance. Really what I need from you all is that if you all are agreeable with what's there, from what I understood, the only change requested was the time frame to make it between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. versus that previous time we talked about. So if you all are ready for me to do the first reading, I guess really what you need to do is a motion and vote to authorize and do the first reading of the noise ordinance.
Yes, go ahead. Do I?
So moved,
I
sir.
read and move to proceed with the first reading.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Okay.
No.
I still have a 10:30, I apologize.
Okay, so, sorry, but I'm already in.
Sure.
I'll go ahead and read
You
it.
got you, man.
I'll read it in the back and go on and proceed with
Okay, all right.
the other section.
All right, now, finally, we have the executive session. For those of you that may not be familiar with the executive session, I think most of you are. This is a section in which I, the Jacks and the General Assembly, we can go into and discuss various points of business in an executive session. Now, when we go into executive session, we will be in, I don't know, hopefully it will be a very short period of time. Once we come out of the executive session, we will resume council meeting. That being said, that's going to be read the section that we'll be going in under, please.
It is hereby moved that the Town Council of Bluefield, Virginia enter into an executive session pursuant to Section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia. The specific purpose for this motion is to discuss the following matters: the discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
Based on this section, gentlemen, do I have a motion to go in?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Order. Gotta say,
Okay, Lester.
All right, Mayor.
We're on video.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Go ahead, Lester,
Okay.
yes.
Whereas the Town Council of Bluefield, Virginia has convened an executive meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.23712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Town Council of Bluefield, Virginia, that such session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of Bluefield, Virginia hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the Town Council.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now we will resume our council meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay. Motion been made and second that we adjourn. We said adjourn.
Yeah.
You said return? I thought you said adjourn.
That's been seconded, we got to return.
Okay. All in favor of returning to council meeting, say aye. Aye. Thank you. All right. See any additional business to be brought up tonight? Now, I'm going to motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.